pleasure to see you. Volume 2 is all the more outrageous. I really, really love that. I mean, there's a vibe to those films. Does it put you in a good mood as soon as you set on those sets, basically?
Yeah, but I think it's mostly because I'm with my friends. It's like we all have such a great chemistry and such a strong friendship that it's just fun. I mean, it makes for a great work environment. I don't feel like I'm going to work. I feel like I'm going to hang out and with my friends all day. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge bonus.
Yeah, and it's such a special kind of film, I think.
Really is.
As I said, we're going to start with the fans. So Isabella's asking, are the Guardians suitable as role models, and what could fans take from them?
I think they are suitable as role models, and I think the reason is because, well, they're imperfect, but I think so people can relate to that because not everybody's perfect. But I also think that they always put aside, their differences or their own personal issues for a greater cause. And I think they're always willing to sacrifice themselves for a greater cause. So I think that's deserving of being a role model. If it's inspiring, if it inspires someone.
Plus, not pretending to be something different from what you are. I think that's a great quality.
Yeah, I think the fact that they are just imperfect and they're a little bit dysfunctional. I think that in itself, it just makes people be able to relate to them. So absolutely.
Selaitan is asking, which hero of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is your favorite and why?
I think that I've always said that Iron Man is my favorite. And I think it has a lot to do with Robert Downey Jr. I think just the way he portrays Tony Stark is just brilliant. I think, he also is a bit imperfect. I love that he's just very witty and sarcastic. But I think Iron Man is my favorite.
Drax gets the real character arc in this one. You get to know much more about his, the background and the evolution of his character. So how much did you enjoy to take him further?
I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it on this film. Because I felt like Drax wasn't really the focal point of this film, and I think no character was. I think it was more the message of family that was the focal point, and telling a few background stories. But I always I like exploring different sides of Drax and showing different lights of Drax. I think I got an opportunity to show a much happier Drax, much more content Drax in this film because he's surrounded by family now. He's just at a better place in his life, but. I hope that I actually get the opportunity to explore more, of his background, his past, his people, but more importantly, his family and his loss.
Do you enjoy his candor? I mean, you don't meet characters like that. I love that he says really what goes in his mind.
Yeah, it's kind of great. It's an odd thing because Drax often says things that are very rude, but because he doesn't say them with bad intention, he doesn't, he's a very literal character, and he doesn't say it with bad intention. He's got a good heart. He means well, so that almost makes it forgiving, But it's a lot of times like delivering those lines with a straight face is pretty hard. Yeah, a lot of laughs. Yeah.
Is it difficult to transform into him? How much are we talking about in terms of hours of makeup?
Yeah, it's actually on the second film. It was much easier, about an hour and a half of makeup.
Oh, that's not a lot.
It's not at all. It was a very fast process. It looks a lot better. So it's just overall, it was kind of an easier experience with the makeup.
Is music as part of you filming this film as it is part of watching it for us viewers, basically?
It is, and the funny thing is when we got the script for this for the second film, and when we got it, it also came with a CD of the soundtrack. So we actually start to be able to, kind of put these songs with the scenes, and it really allows you to, kind of put an emotional tone to scenes. And we also, James is always really big about us listening to the music while we're actually filming. And that's one of those things that's really kind of ingenious and valuable asset to have. Because it really does. As you see the film and start to hear with the music, there's something like really emotional about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and so enjoyable. Kurt Russell just told me that he did try to say that, music from the 60s and the 70s is really great, so James Gunn, Subliminal Messages. Do you try as well, or that's it, it's set in stone, it's part of the narrative, just enjoy it?
I don't read too deep into it, to be honest with you. I just kind of enjoy it. And James came up, he's really great about coming up with these kind of obscure songs, some very, popular songs, but then a lot of obscure songs that you never would have thought of again, if you hadn't seen it, he's really like revived songs. But I guess there's songs that that were really memorable from his childhood. But I think definitely, I mean, to me, I'm the guy who listens to music. I don't really listen to anything within the last 10, 15 years. I'm really a classic music type of guy. So I think, personally, it may be my age too, but I think music was better back then. But yeah, no, I mean, he comes up with songs that I never ever would have thought of again, if he hadn't picked them out.
The fans always want to know if you really had a superpower in real life. I guess in your case, you're a very strong man, so it doesn't. But which one would it be? Would it be more strength, or would it be something completely different?
No, it'd be something completely different.
Yeah.
Like probably flight. I think everybody wants to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be flight. Yeah.
Flight is a good one.
Yeah.
It's good. It's time efficient.
Right.
Do you think there's such thing as a Hollywood dream? When you want to decide to be in Hollywood, is there such a thing as the Hollywood dream, or it's?
I don't know. It depends on the individual. It depends on what your dream is. My dream is not the same as I imagine most guys coming from a sports entertainment background would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's definitely a Hollywood dream. I just think it would be different people's versions of the Hollywood dream.
True. And you've done so well since you've entered Hollywood, obviously with the success that you had in wrestling, but in now you're getting so many different roles, so many interesting ones, etc. Right. Are you enjoying it to the max, and how choosy are you?
I'm very choosy. I've always been very choosy, even since I left wrestling. And a lot of times there were points where I took films that weren't great films, but I always took them for a particular reason. And usually when I took films that weren't great films, didn't pay a lot of money, and I knew weren't going to do well, I took them because it would put me next to an actor I knew I was going to learn something from. And so I've tried to stay true to that, and I've taken jobs just because there were people I wanted to work with. But yeah, I've definitely been fortunate. I've been in some great films, and I'll continue to have great films that are going to come out. But I have a certain path that I'm following, and I follow a particular rule, and that's really to become a better performer. Like that's my Hollywood dream.
Well, I mean, I even noted how fun you are and funny you are in this one. You really have comedic timing. Did you expect that as well? Does it come effortlessly?
I think it comes a little bit effortlessly. Sorry, but I think it's all because I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of movies and films and television. So I've watched this growing up, and I'm just a bit familiar with it. So somewhere in the back of my mind, it lies. But also, I'm good at following direction, and James Gunn is a brilliant director and a brilliant writer, so he makes it super easy for me. So I just don't have to put a whole lot of thought into it. It's just something I go out and do naturally and just follow direction. Yeah.
Well, you're doing very well, so cool. Kudos to that. Chris Pratt is, leading man material, but also so relatable. I don't think there's many of those. What makes him so special?
Yeah, good question. I don't know, but he is special. There's very few entertainers in the world that have his strengths. I think he has more than most, and I think because it's not easy. For one, he's super good looking. He's a good looking guy,
and he doesn't show it,
No,
yeah.
But that's the same thing. That's the thing is he's so down to earth, which makes him automatically lovable. And I think that is because, at one point in his life, he's been that chubby guy. He's been the chubby, funny guy. And I think it's still, inside of him, he's that guy. He's just a down-to-earth guy who doesn't think too much about the way he looks. He's not all caught up on that. But I also think just his emotional range is just kind of crazy. You don't get many performers who have that type of dramatic range all the way over here to the type of comedic range. It's just a rarity. There's very few guys in the world that have it, and he has it to extremes. Like he can be emotional, or he could be just ridiculously funny, and it's just he's just gifted. It's a gift. It's not something that you can. I don't think you can ever obtain that type of range. I mean, it's something that's just really a gift.
Absolutely. And finally, obviously, the fans were always part of your career in WWE times, and now as well with these. How important or how much do they accompany you when you work?
I don't know. Good question. I follow social media a bit. I try to interact a bit, and I know I still have a lot of followers from wrestling. Mm-hmm. But it's at the same time, it feels really good to have whole new fans who just recognize me for something else. but I never take my wrestling fans for granted. Like I never forget where I come from. And at the end of the day, I really loved being a professional wrestler. You know, there was certain things I didn't like about working with WWE, but I always had fun wrestling. It was just another type of entertainment, another type of performance. It was a physical performance, and I always looked at it like that, as a physical theater. So I never take it for granted. But as far as numbers, no, I wouldn't know. I think that I still have a huge following, but you know, I've developed a whole new following from films too. So I don't know. I kind of appreciate both, and I'm just kind of grateful.